The combat flight sim genre has become something of an obscurity these days. At one point in time, the combat flight sim was a celebrated genre, back when DOS was the best platform for gaming, and computer peripherals like the joystick were a must-have. I remember playing games like A-10 Tank Killer, MiG-29 Fulcrum, LHX Attack Chopper, and Falcon 3.0. Instead of the more arcade-like gameplay of games like Afterburner or Ace Combat, these games were much more complex and in-depth, simulating more or less how it would actually be to pilot combat aircraft. I think part of the reason why these games were popular at the time was how PC gaming was not yet mainstream. This was the DOS era of gaming. It wasn't like the consoles where all you had to do was hook up to a TV, pop in a game, and turn it on. It was up to computer geeks to figure out about upgrading computer hardware, understanding the DOS command line interface, configuring the gaming software, and calibrating their peripherals. Hence, the PC gamer crowd was much more technical oriented. As such, they were willing to pick up and play combat flight sims that required a technical-oriented mind to master them. Hell, the Falcon series was notorious for its massive and complicated flight manuals. The goal was to actually make it as realistic as to flying an F-16 as possible. I played these games, but I never fully figured that shit out. From the combat flight sim genre, however, emerged the space sim subgenre. As you can guess, the main difference was that the space sims had you piloting spaceships, although usually not with realistic physics you'd actually expect in space, like inertia. Basically more like Star Wars type action. The first notable space sim that pretty much defined the subgenre as we know it today was Wing Commander. It established a simple formula that was very effective. Your command ship served as a hub to the game world. You get briefed on a mission, you fly your mission, then you get debriefed. All the while a narrative pushes the game forward. However, my introduction to the space sim subgenre came with a different game in 1994 when I was a kid. My brother upgraded our family computer with this awesome technology that was a huge thing at the time, a CD-ROM drive, and the first CD-ROM game that we got was Star Wars X-Wing. I was amazed at the level of immersion that X-Wing gave me. Not only was I able to live out my childhood fantasies of flying an X-Wing out to take on the whole Empire myself, the gameplay was phenomenal and in-depth. For example, it required energy management of your ship, allowing for power to be diverted back and forth between weapons, shields, and engines, and even strengthening the front shields or back shields. This mechanic is useful if you're charging a warship head-on, or you're being pursued by a fighter from the rear. I would play this game every day after school, enjoying the dogfights of the TIE fighters, combating the juking and maneuvering in an effort to land a shot, and dreading whenever I was ordered to approach a Star Destroyer. The next game in line, TIE Fighter, was even better. It improved upon the X-Wing engine, had more complex missions, and actually had a very engaging narrative. TIE Fighter is largely considered the best in the series, and for good reason. I thought the space sim could never get better than that. Years passed, and I was later given a taste of a space sim with an updated look and feel, in the form of a demo for Freespace. The intro was one of the tensest and most gripping game intros I've ever seen. All it is a pilot trying to fly back to base with a wrecked fighter, while something mysterious and dangerous chases him.
Oh god, they're following me! Mayday! This is Lieutenant Ash on Terran Patrol, Wing Gamma 39er!
Barely receiving you, Gamma 39er. This is Terran Outpost Riviera responding. What is your situation?
Oh, thank god! Our wing was ambushed! We didn't have a chance! I'm sure they're tracking me!
Calm down, sir. Who attacked you? Was it the Vasudans?
No! We were in a skirmish with a Vasudan patrol, and they just came out of nowhere and killed everyone!
Who came out of nowhere, pilot?
Yeah, so you have big boobs, so you think you're smart, huh?
I don't know! They weren't Vasudan, and they weren't Terran! I know they're following me! Send everything you have now!
Sir, I don't have anyone else on scope. You're home free. It's going to be all right.
No, it isn't! You don't understand! Oh my god! I'm dead! We're all dead! It's too late! Oh god!
That intro sends chills down my spine every time. This opening scene sets the tone perfectly for the entire series to come. As for the game itself, I wasn't blown away right out of the gate, but I definitely wanted to explore the much crisper look of the game. After all, it had lighting and particle effects, and sweet-looking explosions. The story also seemed interesting enough. I didn't end up getting the game, though. Seeing my interest, my brother ended up getting Freespace 2 for me for Christmas. Little did I know at the time that Freespace 2 would end up being my most revered space sim of all time, the apex of the entire genre, and one of my favorite games ever. Freespace 2 was released in 1999 to a critical acclaim. It improved upon the first Freespace in every way, from the graphics, gameplay, story, and even voice actors, employing talents such as Robert Loggia.
This is Admiral Petrarch, commanding officer of the GTD Aquitaine.
And Ronnie Cox.
How close did we come to being a footnote in the history of a future species?
It turned the average Freespace into an epic sci-fi experience. The game was so good, it lives on today as a cult favorite, even to the point that the fan community completely updated the engine and graphics to modern standards, which is why the footage you'll see from here on out looks as nice as it does. The story, as established by the first Freespace, takes place in a future where humans, upon discovering pre-established interstellar travel routes, are open to the rest of the galaxy with another alien species. However, a mysterious alien threat shows up out of nowhere with superior technology and unknown motives, whom it turns out has been exterminating spacefaring civilizations every 10,000 years or so, and it's a rush to stop them before they destroy everything. Sound familiar?
I should go.
In the first Freespace, the Shivans, as they were dubbed, were stopped by a last-ditch effort that ended up cutting Earth's contact off with the rest of the galaxy. Freespace 2 takes place 32 years later with the rest of human civilization now cut off from Earth. The Shivans have disappeared, and the humans share an alliance with the first alien race, the Vasudans, in an attempt to rebuild, achieve stability, and prepare for if the Shivans ever return. At first, you fight against other humans, a rogue faction known as the Neo-Terran Front. They're xenophobes who oppose the alliance with the Vasudans. However, while the Front's motivations are clearly out of hate, its leader is more enigmatic and seems to have ulterior motives. Early on in the game, the Shivans do return, and the Galactic Terran Vasudan Alliance is ready for them with a large arsenal of ships. They apparently showed up from a far-off nebula, so you actually go into the nebula and engage them there. The story is excellently told, and is a departure from other Save the World or Galaxy stories, as there's just some pilot in this game. While you definitely have some impact in how the space battles go, the game really gives you a sense that you're really just a small part of a much larger picture. Many times, you can't really do anything as two huge warships battle around you.
Surrender or be destroyed, Belisarius. This is your final warning. Your posturing insults us both, Vasudin. I will not give up my ship. As you wish. Open fire.
And sometimes you never know which way the fight will turn. Sometimes you really are immersed into a sense of hopelessness, that perhaps things aren't going to end well in this game.
Where? What is it? I can't get a visual.
Can you get a closer look, Lysander? The Lysander is down! The Lysander is down!
One of the most memorable parts of the game is the monologues the characters would have, usually by the leader of the Neo-Terran Front. They are incredibly well written, and I've spent many a time just listening to them over and over again.
Did the ancients stumble upon the monoliths and the tombs of their predecessors in this distant corner of space, dismissing the warnings carved in the walls of the sepulchre? And when the destroyers came at last, what did the ancients think as they sifted the cremation of dust and bones?
Sadly, the space sim genre kind of died off, with only a few fringe space sims here and there. If you ask me, Freespace 2 was the best of the genre. Today, you can find the game at GOG.com for about $10. They later released a source code for the game, which modders and programmers took and created that mod I mentioned, which you can find and install for free. The links are provided below. If you're interested in exploring space sims at all, I say get yourself a joystick and try out Freespace 2.
They say our people have no present. Only a past filled with horror. And a future they can only dream of.